Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Unfound Podcast channel on YouTube. I am, of course, Unfound's host, Ed Densel. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Before I get started, I hope you will give this video a thumbs up once you watch it. I hope you will consider subscribing to this channel if you are not yet a subscriber, and please hit the little bell button so when videos such as this one are posted, when they are posted, you will get alerted immediately. And if you'd like to go that one step further, I would appreciate it if you consider becoming a member of this channel. You can hit the join button down below and you can find out what you get extra for the low price of 10 cents a day. As the title says, this will be kind of more of a geography analysis for the disappearances of Bernard Rusness and Peggy McKay. I realize that on the Charlie Project and elsewhere, her last name is Parmenter, Parmenter, but technically, according to paperwork at the time in 1976, her last name was McKay, M-C-K-A-Y. So we're going to take a look at where this actually is. We're going to show you where it is in relation to actually Wolf Lake, Minnesota. And then we're going to take a look at the surrounding area. And I will just do a little bit of analysis there. So what you are looking at right now on your device is where the fire took place. And nobody has lived on this property since. No house was ever built there again, and all of those buildings there were there in 1976. And by the time that you are watching this video, probably I will have posted on Facebook and on the website, theunfoundpodcast.com. Actually found a picture of what the remains of the house looked like after it had burned down. There's not much to it, but you'll get to look at that for yourself. So you can see here that where these buildings are, and Joe and I talked about this driveway. There it is right there. I don't know the last time it's been used. I don't know if anybody, this area looks fairly well kept, so somebody's doing something there. But this is that driveway. And then I'm going to guess, being that these buildings are here, this house was back here somewhere. Sitting, I'm going to guess about maybe a football field, maybe 300 feet off the road, maybe even farther than that. So maybe we can understand, it very well could be that some people went by there and the fire had started and not even noticed. But as Joe and I talked about in the interview, people did go by and noticed it and tried to see if they could help, tried to get into the house, and they were unsuccessful. Of course, the fire was already dangerous at that time, so the firefighters eventually showed up, put it out, total loss, and now this is probably a very recent photo here on Google Maps. This is what is left of that area right there. So where is this? Kind of looks like it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it is. I will show you where this is compared to actually Wolf Lake, Minnesota proper. And this is that little red area over there that is circled or surrounded by a red line. And technically, Wolf Lake, Minnesota only has a population of 71 people. And if we really wanted to get technical with this, it very well may even be that where Bernard and Peggy were living, it's actually possibly a Frazee, F-R-A-Z-E-E address. But I think because it's so close to Wolf Lake, I think it's just identified as being there. So I'm going to guess, it really doesn't pay to kind of look at the surrounding buildings and area because I'm going to guess a lot of this, I don't know if any of this was even there in 1976. So, but you can look at this, and even if we're to take for granted that at least the woods and everything were the same as they were in 1976, it's kind of sparse. This is farming area, and if we were to think, for example, that somebody did go in there, take Bernard and Peggy away, and maybe murdered them and put their bodies somewhere close because they didn't want to haul them around in their own car. Of course, that's the best way to get caught. We might look at maybe this area right here or this area. There are some trees and little forests there, but not very big. I'm going to say probably if people wanted to search them now in 2022 into 2023, I really don't know how difficult that would be. We've certainly talked about rougher terrain than that on Unfound. Maybe thinking about Jacob Paddock Weeks, who went missing in Colorado, and in the mountains of Colorado, surely more difficult to search maybe than some of these areas. Now, something that Joe and I did not want to get into because it was just a little too speculative for me, but there is a story out there, some witnesses at the time stating that at the time of the fire that they heard a plane flying overhead, and as it would go, there's a belief, could it be that Bernard and Peggy, or even just one of them, kind of escaped on like a little Cessna or something like that? Was this some big plan to get away? It sounds outrageous to me, but you might run across it out there. Joe and I have talked about it, and here's what I see. You know, I take an interest in plane crashes. I take an interest in aviation, even though I don't really like to fly. But I don't see anywhere here, at least on roughly a 2022 map, where a plane could have landed to pick them up at night of all times. What did they do? Go out and start a bonfire out there for a runway? It just is a little just too crazy for me. But I want you to know that I've heard about that. Maybe if we're looking at a different geography in 1976, of course, there probably aren't any satellite photos, and if there are some, probably not that clear of this area. I'm just not inclined that anybody would land a plane in this area, especially at night, and then think about taking off again. It just sounds just too crazy for me, just looking at this and knowing the weight of the plane and how long it takes for one of these, even a little propeller plane, it's going to take like 3,000 feet or something to take off. And that's on a paved runway. What about on grass? That's not really meant for planes. It just doesn't sound believable to me, and I think you can look at this area and maybe decide that for yourself. But I think what we're also seeing is that I think what we're saying is that you can see why it took passersby driving by to notice that there was a fire. I'm going to guess these buildings weren't there at the time. They look fairly modern to me. And you can see that the house was kind of, if we zoom in, if we're to believe this is what it was like in 1976, these trees and everything, we can see how it might have in many ways been shielded from the road, and it's very possible that anybody driving east might not have seen it. Only people driving west, getting this kind of direction, looking in that direction, might have noticed it. So that's really all I have. I just wanted to show you where this was. It's a little hard to find. And I'm very fortunate that Joe did send me a map, and I will be posting that. By the time you're hearing my voice and watching this, I will have posted that. But still, even following the map that Joe sent me, that's not his fault. It's not his map. A little hard to find. But what you want to do is you want to find Wolf Lake up here in the right-hand corner, and then kind of go down in a diagonal direction, and then it's right there. Just be looking maybe for this road that's kind of slanted like that, and then you will find the property. So that's all I have for this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you'd like, subscribe, consider joining this channel, and I will talk to you again very soon.